Hello, everyone. I'm sorry, we were supposed to have a trolley ride later. That was kind of in the agenda. But old number 60 is broken down, and Jerry Fisher, he couldn't get it fixed in time. So maybe next time, he said. It's a pretty good ride. It goes around Sucker Flat, the mine hole right behind the Praying Hands. It's a pretty good ride. And they said, yeah, Larry, we'd love to. That kind of makes us look better. Makes us look good to have people like you be our customers on the trolley. They really wanted to, but it broke down, so next time or whatever time, we'll have a good ride on the number 60. Has anybody, do you know the trolley I'm talking about? Who knows? Okay, it's one of the only trolleys that's going around, that drives around here. Still operates.
It was one of the latest.
Yeah, it was one of the latest, yeah. So next time, we'll get a ride on the trolley.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Larry, we'll all be down next Saturday.
Okay. However, no trolley. We're going to take a stroll through the park. We're going to take a stroll through Lakeside Park. How many people do not know anything about Lakeside Park? Raise your hand. Look at this. Okay. That's kind of why we're doing this, because Lakeside Park, during its heyday in the mid-1890s to the mid-1930s, which is about 40 years, that's kind of the livelihood of Lakeside Park. Lakeside Park provided thousands upon thousands of people in our surrounding area fun, excitement, and quality entertainment. I mean, it was quality entertainment. This was one of the best entertainment in the state, and it was all at Lakeside Park. How many people here remember strolling through Lakeside Park? Raise your hand. Who remembers strolling through Lakeside Park? And just this table here? Well, I'll tell you, that's why they're here. That is why they're here. Because they remember it was a part of their lives, and I can't wait to hear their story. Okay. As guests today, they will be guides as we stroll back in time to Lakeside Park. Our guests are Oscar Evans, his sister Vivian Gripka, Jean Blackford, his wife Eva, and Charlyn Hubbard. Let's give a warm welcome to our guest. I'll start with a short introduction and we'll hand it over to the pros. I'm just barely wet with Lakeside Park. Don't know really that much about it. I know a little bit, enough to want me to know better, to know more, I mean. And I can't wait to hear these people who, when they were younger, they walked through the park. They couldn't wait to go to the park, and they did some things in the park that really, if you don't know what Lakeside Park is, you're going to be amazed of the splendor and the enormity of Lakeside Park. It was unreal if you don't know anything about the park. And after we get through here, they brought some postcards. Okay, Charlyn brought her postcards over here. She's a collector, and she's got a lot of them, 48 of Lakeside Park. They probably made 50 of them. She's probably got about all but two.
I'm sure there's a lot more.
48 of Lakeside Park, though, is amazing. Then a lot of Route 66, and we got a lot of newspaper articles and photos from the other people at Lakeside Park. Make sure you take your time and look at them. You'll be amazed at the enormity of this place. Okay, I'll start with a short introduction. Going back to the early 1900s, the splendor and enormity that was Lakeside Park was unsurpassed. First off, where was Lakeside Park? Okay, if I get something wrong here, you guys let me know. Because I had trouble with this until last week. Lakeside Park was in a small rural community of Lakeside, just off Route 66, between Carterville and Carthage. From Carthage, Route 66 Drive-In Theater, go west and cross US 71 to the north, where there should be that sign my little brother was talking about. It says Route 66 straight, but there's no sign on that overpass that goes over 71. There's no sign. You don't know whether to go straight or where. If you happen to go across 71 to the north, go west and cross US 71 to the north, continue to the stop sign, which is, and turn left on Leggett Road. And that's Old 66, right there. A new bridge was replaced the 1926 double arch bridge over Center Creek. From the bridge, I was at the Webb City High School football game. We was at a tailgate party of a buddy I graduated high school with, and she told me this, okay? She said, Larry, when you get on that new bridge, now we're going from Brooklyn Heights, okay? So you get on the bridge, stop in the middle of the bridge, turn left, and about a quarter of a mile, Lakeside Park started. That's what she told me. Oscar, is that
Yeah,
pretty close to it?
in early days, there was,
Started on the railroad track.
you go over that railroad track there.
Okay.
There's a filling station on the west side. There's an old grocery store on the right side, and you went right in between them, up over the railroad track, and the road was a crooked road, followed the river right down to the park there. Van Pelt's had a cafe across the road, and it had cabins across the road north, you know.
Okay.
And, but you come across that new bridge.
The railroad
and
tracks.
I think the old, not the old store building, but there's a building there, and you went right between it and that old filling station that was there, you see.
Okay.
People back in those days was kind of clannish. The parishes was prevalent out there. What I mean, they was 4 brothers and their dad all lived in that area. Well, my family was clannish. I had 8 brothers or 7 brothers and sisters, and all of them at one time lived in that area out there, you see. I lived there till I was in service in World War II, and then later I went to the Navy. I went to the Army the first time in World War II, and then later I went to the Navy in the Korean War. And I was the only one after I was married that never lived there. The rest of my brothers and sisters all lived there. Lakeside was a prosperous community way out in the country. I mean, unbelievable, way out in the country there. Center Creek they had a dam there, streetcars in the park, of course, is what made Lakeside what it was. But there was 2 tracks, streetcars went to Carthage. There's a car barn there. Any of you familiar with the skate rink at Webb City? There's a car barn there. About the same size that, there used to be an old car barn there.
Southwest Missouri Electric
Yeah.
Railway Company.
Streetcar company opened this park up. It was the first park in the whole area. Schiffendecker, which was the electric park, it was the next one. They opened both of them up. And Lakeside had it all. They had ball games. They had a grandstand there. Of course, that's where I shined, was the ball games. But they had a grandstand there. It went halfway to third base. It was about 7 or 8 seats high. It went halfway down to third base, clear behind home plate, and clear to first base. And I've seen people sitting 5 and 6 deep in the grass from the grandstand clear to the river, which was, I don't know, a couple of...
What did you tell me on the phone? You said, Larry, tell me.
Well, there was times when there was 30 to 40,000 people out there on weekends, you know. They had everything. They had the bandstand there. They had music. You could see more at that time. You could see more free there than what you probably could for $50 today. There was acts going on all the time.
Your father was what?
My dad was the manager of the ball team out there till of course the park washed away, and I had to hustle foul balls that went over the grandstand. And to my knowledge, there's 2 boys, they left here and went to Kansas City, and they would be the only one that's as old as I am, I think, that actually seen the old park run. They used to be a theater there. It burnt down. They had a roller coaster there, figure 8 to call it. And they had motorboat rides, canoes, rentals. There's 3 concrete tennis courts over there. Had a bathhouse that was extremely long, and a party could go in the same room, but they had individual rooms for for people to change clothes, you know. And, but pop was a nickel. Back then, you know, you get a bottle of pop for a nickel. And the old swinging bridge, it was mounted on cables. And of course, I was pretty honored about that time. And me and these two boys that left here, the Hopkins boys, we used to get ahead of the crowd going across that swinging bridge, and we could get together and get that thing of swinging and jumping, you know, and just the women screaming and everything. Pick you off that. And then, as far as the streetcar concerned, I took my granddaughter over to Webb City at their Miners Day, and I said, well, I'm going to ride inside that streetcar to Ronnie. I said, most of the time I jumped on the back of them. And there was 3 crossings out there. I don't know why they called them crossings. It was one at the park, and the Baker's Crossing, and one at Black's Crossing. And you could catch the streetcars there. They had a little shelter where you could stand wait on streetcars. Streetcars run by every half hour to Lakeside Park. Up on the hill, they had a dance hall. It's really large. It was big. There's pictures of it here. The pictures tell us the story. I mean, there's some wonderful pictures here, and I don't have any postcards or even I had pictures out of the newspaper, you know.
You could dance, had roller skate on this, could you?
Well, they used it for both. It was an open air deal. They used it for dancing in the summertime, and then they was on the skate rink. And, yeah, it stood for a long time because it was up on the hill. You know, in 1933, flood came and it did a lot of damage. And they come back and they built it back up, you know, trying to go with it again. In 1934, here come another flood. And it washed the concession stands away. There was shooting gallery there. There was concession stands of all kinds. And it was unbelievable. You could see a good show. They'd take pigs and grease them and turn them loose, let people try to catch them, you know. And they had a flagpole there. They'd put a $5 bill, which was a lot of money then, believe it or not. But they put a $5 bill on this flagpole on top of it and greased the flagpole, and people tried to climb up there. Of course, they'd get the $5 bill if they went up that pole, which very few did, because some of them would get dirt on their hand and they'd get up the whole way.
Did you make it? Did you make it?
No, I didn't. But it was quite an attraction. A lot of your lodges and Atlas Powder, a lot of the places, they come out there and had picnics and what have you. And like I say, it wasn't nothing at all for 30, 40,000 people out there on a Sunday, you know.
That's unreal.
And it was really had it on. It was, I know a boy, his son has got a metal detector at underwater, and you wouldn't believe what he's found in that lake out there. The dam, of course, they had the dam there, and it was a wide dam, and you could walk across it. And you walked under the bathhouse. It was high, and you walked under the bathhouse to get to the tennis courts and ball diamond. They also had a footbridge next to the streetcar tracks that you could walk across, you know, and then you had the swinging bridge. But most people, they used that swinging bridge. It was quite a deal. But these pictures are interesting. If I think Vivian and Jean and her, she got a wonderful bunch of postcards and everything. And I think if you want to look at the pictures, we'll try to answer questions or whatever. Because I seen it run, you know, and of course I think Jean came in later. There was a lot of ball teams, a lot of guys played ball out there, which I was greatly interested in. My dad run the ball team, and he'd go down every Sunday morning with a team of horses and drag the ball diamond and get it ready for the ball game in the afternoon. And we spent a lot of a lot of days down here, and of course, I spent a lot of nights and evenings down here as far as that goes. They had electricity in the park. There's mighty little electricity around over Lakeside, just a few. Most of the houses out there was piped for gas lights. And therefore, a lot of them burnt down, you know. And, but they, of course, they've had natural gas out there ever since I went there. My mother and dad was born, my dad was born in '85, my mother was born in '86, and they courted at Lakeside Park when they were going together.
That's
That
neat.
was
That's
the early part of 1900 at least.
That is neat.
They, my oldest brother was born in 1906, and at one time, all except me, all the sisters and brothers that lived out there at Lakeside at some time or other, you know. That's about all I got to say. Vivian, you got anything to?
Oscar, one word to describe your Lakeside memories. One word to describe Lakeside Park to you.
It's,
What would be the one word?
Vivian and I reminisce a lot whenever we get together, and it's home. It
Just
was
home?
It
You
was
spent a lot
home,
of time
too.
there, yeah.
Yeah, and even though I didn't live back out there, I still had ties there, because my mother was killed there on the highway right after the new highway went in. She was the first one killed there. And Dad died there, and I've had a brother die, and him and his wife both die out there. And I've had a brother-in-law die out there. And she still lives out there, her and her
Yeah.
husband. And, well, I think Ted's niece, or Ted's daughter still lives there, don't
We
she?
have a niece that lives there.
But it was unbelievable.
It was just your home.
Yeah, it was unbelievable what it was, really. The theater, it had a theater there, and the dance hall was up on the hill. There was a log cabin up there, which they used more for storage during my time. And, but down on the bottom there on the river, on the creek, why, they had motorboat rides, they had canoes, and swimming. They were just unbelievable what was there.
I got questions. I was like the 4th of July celebrations out there. What
Yeah.
were they like? Weren't they pretty
Well,
big?
they had balloon ascensions out there. Of course, the balloon was tied, but they'd gas it, you see, and they'd go up and so high, and you could look around all over the park, and everything. And 4th of July was a mob, and they always try to have a ball game out there, on Sunday. And like I say, we had 2 new baseballs every ball game. And these 2 boys that left here, they used to help me hustle foul balls that went over the grandstands. And I don't know whether they're still alive or not. They left here and went to Kansas City, and I haven't heard from them. But I don't think anybody, we've talked, I don't know if anybody, I'm 82 years old, and I don't know anybody that has got a good memory that's any older than I am, of the old park. I've got a brother in Topeka that's 92, but his mind is gone. And I've got a sister that's older than I am, and she's not too well.
Did we produce any big leaguers out of the Lakeside League?
At first, it was the old trolley league. Every little town where these streetcars went, Prosperity, Alba, Purcell, every little town had a ball team. Baseball used to be, it used to be the top thing. And I got a picture of my dad, and I had an older brother, one still living in Topeka. He played ball down there. And a lot of people, I know all the ball players there that's in that picture. And there's a lot of different ones that we don't have a picture of, but it was just a voluntary deal. But Cecil Trent, he was from Mornogle, and Pete Edge, several of them played in the Western Association, and Cecil Trent wasn't even up farther than that. And Buckshot Boyd from Mornogle, he played in the Western Association when Joplin and Springfield was in the Western Association. And they both played, I think Buckshot Boyd played with Muskogee, I believe. And I think Pete played with some Arkansas team. And that's about all I know of. Now, well, I'll take that back. Two Walker boys from Warrenogo, they used to play there. And they both went up. And Bruce Walker. But you never did get the big leagues.
Close.
Cecil did get up pretty well. But I don't have anything else but to say. I'll turn it over to Vivian and see if she can tell you any more. I'd be glad to try to answer any questions. If any of you got any questions or the pictures, whenever you look at them, why, I think we can try to tell you what it was and what it was like. And actually, the pictures tells the story, what it was, really. It was unbelievable.
Did they have a skating rink?
Yeah, they had this huge building. They used it for dancing and skating both, you know. They had a theater there. It had burnt down, the theater did. But my mother and dad, when they was going together, they was the theater. And streetcars, they'd be hanging on streetcars going to the park. It was unbelievable how many. I mean, way out in the country, that was what was so odd, you know, right on the river.
It was an all-day deal.
Oh, yeah. It was unbelievable. It was just really something. Well, I'll turn it over to Vivian here, see if she's got anything to add. I'll answer any questions that any of you might have if I possibly can.
Thank you, Oscar.
Yeah.
30 to 40,000 was good as they get at Busch Stadium.
Yeah.
Okay, Vivian.
Okay. I have a little article I wanted to read here about Lakeside. This is Ghost Park.
Behind the microphone.
Yes.
Is you want it right there? Is it right there?
No.
Tell me no, behind the microphone.
No.
Right here?
You want it back here?
Couldn't you hear me? I do.
The mic doesn't work.
No,
I'm not
okay.
very good.
It was
I'm not
okay
a-
there then, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go back up there.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay.
Sort of kind of front.
I probably speak a little louder than he does.
Yeah.
No, I told about it. Three of them.
Yeah.
Three tennis
This is the Ghost Park in our midst. Lakeside Park once echoed with the laughter and activity of hundreds. Ken Neeland, I don't know who he was, but he wrote this article, recently wrote to remind us that the history of the Tri-State District can't be told without including Lakeside Park. Although we've mentioned the park in several issues, I guess we haven't elaborated on it enough, and that's true. Lakeside was operated by the Streetcar Association, which was really known as the Southwest Missouri Electric Railway, founded by A.H. Rogers, and they lived in Carthage, and the park ground is still in the hands of their in a real estate deal, and it's never been settled. Lakeside was located about a quarter mile upstream from the Center Creek Bridge on Highway 71. He went on to recall that there was a small dam, which is still there, and back on the wall is a picture that my daughter painted of the streetcar bridge from the west looking toward the dam. You can see the dam in the middle, and my daughter painted that picture. And the dam is still there, with a bathhouse and a pier. The pier extended from the north side of the river with a diving board on the end. There was also a water slide about 20 or 30 feet high. There was plenty to do at Lakeside, including swimming, boating, playing tennis, and the 2 tennis courts, or just eating. There was plenty to do at Lakeside. With the baseball diamond was on the north side of the river. The only way to get there was by the swinging bridge just east of the swimming area. Well, there was a footbridge, like he said, too, on the streetcar bridge. My mother couldn't walk across the dam because her head swam, so she had to use that bridge. Okay, the south side of the river had a rope swing and canoe rentals. There were also lots of booths with quite a variety of food to choose from. On the south side and up the hill was the dance pavilion. Many a romantic evening was spent at the dance pavilion with a moonlight stroll along the river. Sundays seemed to be the busiest days along with the 4th of July. But Sundays were the day of the baseball games. The trolley league played in a packed grandstand. Admission was free unless you wanted to sit in the grandstand, and then you paid 25 cents for the advantage of being out of the weather. That 25 cents per person helped pay for the baseball equipment used by the league. Sometimes, if there was money left over, the league would use it to bring the big league players for an exhibition game. If you weren't a baseball fan, there were plenty of other attractions on Sundays. Many times there were movies at the movie house or daytime fireworks, balloon rides, band concerts, or just relaxing along the river. It wasn't uncommon for 40,000 to 50,000 people to visit Lakeside Park every weekend, but the only way you could get to Lakeside Park was by streetcar. This was before this little road that he told you about that went wound around down there. But they finally put a little road from 66, old Route 66 highway down to the park. And this was the purpose for the park to begin with, to encourage people to use the streetcar more often. The average cost of a ticket was 1 1/4 cents per mile, so you could ride from Carthage for 15 cents and 5 cents more to get a round-trip ticket. Once you were at the park, you could dine from your own picnic basket or buy food from local vendors. Hamburgers were only 10 cents, soda pop 5 cents, and candy bars and chewing gum were only 5 cents. If you were too tired to make the trip home, there was a hotel to accommodate you and your family, and it was right alongside the streetcar track toward the entrance of the park. It was the most popular recreational spot in the tri-state area. Not only the best, but the easiest to get to for people who didn't have a car. The streetcar ran from Carthage to Pitcher, Oklahoma, with spur lines to Ornogo, Dunaweg, Chitwood, and many others. As usual, all good things must come to an end. Mr. Nealon recalls that in the early 20s, floods washed, this was in the 30s actually, but he says the 20s. But anyway, floods washed out all the structures except the pier and diving board, and they washed in gravel, making it too shallow for diving. Those who remember Lakeside Park could probably visit the area and imagine the way it used to look. But to the rest of us, it just looks like farmland with a river running through it. If you paddle your canoe up Center Creek, you can still see the concrete abutments for the swinging bridge and streetcar bridge. Mr. Nealon feels that it would have been a great place for Boy Scouts or church retreats or an RV park. For now, however, it's just one of those special memories to be shared and not forgotten. And this says, thank you, Mr. Nealon, for sharing a memory of a magical place where many dreams came true. Many a romance began at that park, and many a young boy dreamed of becoming a famous baseball player. This is the picture of the dance pavilion, and I have more pictures back there. I also have a little poem I wanted to read you that one of the students in the Lakeside School wrote. This was back probably in the 50s, early 50s. It says Lakeside. Now I see a community old as the hills, hemmed in by beautiful trees and rivers. Every chance to know the great out of doors, a recreational place for all. Hiking and exploring over the countryside, water skiing, boating, swimming, and archery. The school and community church, close to our neighbors in Carthage, Joplin, Carterville, and Webb City. Never without transportation, every utility available, electricity, natural gas, and water from your own well. Friendly neighbors and peaceful days. The many visitors to the park all year round. This is my community, my home, my life. This was written by Betty Lou Bailey, and she lived just up south of the school in the first house south of the old school there. But that's my sentiments exactly, and I still live there. I have lived there with my husband, my present husband now, for 56 years. And we moved to Lakeside when I was 3 years old, and I was away from there 2 years, and all that time I've lived there all the rest of my life there. I'll soon be 80 years old, so I think that's quite a recommendation for Lakeside Park.
Thank you. See? Got the recorder right here.
Anywhere he wants.
I didn't move out there that late, about 1952. We moved out there, but I used to work for Lang Wadger in Carthage. I and my wife got married, we pushed a hand mower and mowed their yards. There's about 5 of them, families. And then later on, we had 3 children. We moved out there. And then leased that land from Land Rogers family, and we had cattle in there. Well, they kept tearing down the fences, so we put a fruit stand down there. And people from Canada, Alaska, and old Mexico come up, they talk about that when they was kids in the park, what good times they had. We had that fruit stand there about 3 or 4 years. They had those tennis courts over. We cleaned them up. Kids played tennis. They swam the river, and they had boats. They drove canoeing, and out there at Lakeside Park, we heard those people say that's the biggest attraction there was in the West. And it's interesting when they was talking about that park. There was 7 wells drilled in that park. They furnished the water for all this amusement. That big motel burnt, was about 60?
I don't know really, Gene.
I think somewhere around 1960.
I don't know when it burnt. It's on one of those articles back there. I read it the other day.
Yeah.
It's probably in the 60s.
Somewhere along there. But people still rent that motel right after it burned, until it burned. But my dad used to play baseball there. He's a catcher. And I'd lay on that swinging bridge and watch him play ball. And they'd be about 25, 30 kids laying on that bridge watching the ball. There's 4 ball diamonds. And now it's all in timber, growed up where they had the ball diamonds, and the tennis court got some trees in it. But quite a bit of there. The dam is about gone. High water finally taking it out. But when the water up high, you can go down on a canoe if you're careful on the curve, the rocks in there. But it's interesting. Well, it is so popular that the Auto Horse Association had a picnic down there one year. There's 2,500 of them went there for that picnic. And that'd be a big crowd for a picnic. That's about all I know.
Thank you, Gene. Okay, Charlotte.
Well, they've told a lot more about Lakeside Park than I know because I'm a little bit younger than they are. And I've been a postcard collector for 60 years now. And I have 6 generations of my father's family cards, 5 generations of my mother's family cards, and 5 generations of my husband's family cards. So I've got a lot of cards. And when I started collecting postcards, they were a penny each and a penny stamp to mail them. And now you should price these cards at the postcard shows or on the internet, and you'll find out they're quite expensive. And then I also have postcards dated with postmarks every year from 1893 to 2005. I haven't missed a year. And I couldn't hardly find any in the 1930s, and I wondered why. I was looking 29, 30, and 31. Well, that was during the Depression, and they couldn't afford the 1-cent card, I guess, and stamp. And I was born 4 miles west of Carthage, a half a mile from Route 66. And I've lived in Jasper County all my life. And the first highway I ever traveled on, of course, was Route 66. And then I've also lived about 4 miles east of Lakeside. I was born there. And I'm the one that has all the Lakeside cards over here. And they were telling that people arrived on streetcars during the heyday and during the busy days every 10 minutes. And the streetcar ran right by the house where I was born. And I remember riding on it 2 times. Once I went to Carthage on the streetcar. I was covered with poison ivy. My sister and I were playing in the poison ivy. And I went to the doctor on the streetcar. And then I went to Pleasant Valley School for 8 years, and I remember once riding the streetcar down to the school. And we lived 2 miles from Pleasant Valley School. We walked down the road, over the stile, down the streetcar track, through the cow pasture, and through a barbed wire fence, and then back on the road to go to school 2 miles every school day. And if we didn't go that way, it was 2.5 miles to school. So anyway, my Lakeside cards include crowds arriving on streetcars, boat rides, people crossing on the swinging bridge. And I barely remember being on that swinging bridge when I was real young, because they took it out. And my uncle was on the bridge, bouncing the bridge, and it scared me to death. And I still think I was just having a bad dream. And then my mother-in-law told me, I guess she courted some down at the Lakeside Park, and her boyfriend, her husband, bought the ice cream cone for her, and she wouldn't eat it because a black person had dipped up this ice cream cone, which is different than today. And I also have children's playground on postcards, and swimmers, and the roller coasters, and a lot of different views. I've got 48 altogether. And I don't have one of the ballpark or the dancing pavilion, and I'm sure there's several out there I don't have, especially the real photo postcards are rare because they were just published locally. And I have 4 cards that is the very same view of Lakeside, and one of them says Carthage on it, one says Carterville on it, one says Webb City on it, and one says Joplin, and they all claimed Lakeside as their park. And it's the very same view. And the park closed in 1935. Am I right on that? That's
Close
about
to that,
when it closed.
Flood washed it away.
And that's the same year they took the streetcars out from Carthage to Joplin. And then I've got more to tell you about Route 66 because that's more my era. And I rode the Joplin bus. I had to walk 3/4 of a mile to the bus line and ride the Joplin bus 4 miles to Carthage to go to high school. Then when I got to Carthage, I had to walk 2 or 3 more blocks. And I did that for 4 years. And part of the time I'd ride my bike over to the bus line and leave it and not have to walk quite so far. And then I rode it 15 miles from Carthage to Joplin to go to Joplin Junior College, and for 2 years. And Joplin Junior College is now MSSU. And then I had bought me a 1932 Dodge, and I drove it down the old Route 66 for a year when I worked at the Williamson's music store in Joplin. And then during the teens, I would ride my bike to Carthage on Route 66 to run errands for my mother and go. Went to town to take my piano lessons 4 miles, and I can't get a student next door to come for a lesson sometimes. And during the 40s, there wasn't much traffic on Route 66. Maybe I'd get off of the highway 2 or 3 times riding to town those 4 miles, but that would be during the weeks. And I remember when the bus driver that came to Joplin from Carthage would get to the Lakeside Bridge. Well, he'd stop at the edge of the bridge, and he'd wait till all the cars had passed. There wasn't any traffic coming because the bridge was so narrow. He was afraid he would scrape the cars he met. And of course, they replaced that bridge since then. And I have cards from all over the United States, all the states, all the continents, and I've got I've got the Route 66 board over there with all the towns from the song Route 66, except I couldn't find Winona. Well, I found out it's just a spot in the road with a trailer house and another house or 2. And I couldn't find it. So anyway, I go to Wichita to these postcard shows and buy cards, and we fix boards up for the shows just for demonstration, and those I fixed up about 5 years ago to go to Wichita. And anyway, that's just about all I have to say, except for questions if anybody has them.
Questions? Thank you, Charlyn.
It's an interesting topic.
I live on Highway 66, old Highway 66, as it goes through Joplin there. And about 6 weeks ago, I think it was going to Springfield. I think it must have been a car show or something up there. A lot of old cars went by there. I have motorcycles. I sit on the porch a lot because I live alone. And I've had motorcycles going to, where is it, North Dakota they go
Yeah.
to, Harley Davidson. And I really enjoy them. Those old cars going along there and they just putter along, you wouldn't believe. And there was about 35 in this group, but it's going, I think it's going to Springfield that day, And I really enjoy watching them. My neighbor across the street, he was sitting there with me, and we really enjoyed them, as they went by there. But that's about all I got to say. It is.
Tommy?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, does anybody know where Fairland Skating Rink is in Carthage? Was in Carthage?
Fairland.
Fairland.
I've skated
Yeah,
on
that's-
many, 2 or 3 rinks over there, but I
that's-
don't
There was
remember.
one,
There's a Whistler skating rink, and they got one at the park,
I think that's Fairland.
there was one downtown,
but that's
down
Whistler.
on Bird Street or
Well, I think
Grant
one
Street,
there in the park,
Right
too.
down on the town.
I've never heard
On
it called
Howard.
over there.
It was just there.
Yeah.
It was there when I was in
I've
the, I
I've
skated,
got a license plate topper that's Fairland
I skated up in that little
Skating
skating
Rink.
rink down there a time or two
Carthage,
when I was in high school.
I think that's the one in the park there, but it was
Whistler's is at the
it was
park.
an open,
Whistler owned it.
it was an open building at first when they first built it, about like Lakeside was. Lakeside dance hall and skating rink, it was all open. And it was used, of course, mostly in the fall and spring and summer,
I've asked a lot of people and
There was.
nobody's ever.
You've got a picture of it?
No, it's a
Oh.
license plate
Oh, I was
topper.
gonna say, if I had a picture, I could tell whether it was,
It's a thing like on your car and you just put it on top of
Yes,
the license
okay.
plate.
It's called what, Fairland?
Fairland Skating Rink.
In Carthage?
Carthage, Missouri.
Oh, the only one I ever knew was, it was down south of the square up there. I skated in that, it was just in a little building down there across from where the R&S Motor Company used to be.
You're right on the south,
It's
east
on the
side
east
of
side
it.
of the street.
That's the only two I've
skated
ever
They
there.
had a
known.
bowling alley right
Yeah.
side of it.
Yeah. And I think Whistler's did own the bowling alley, but I didn't know they owned so that's the only one I could
And then
think
there
of
was
that
one
was
in
there.
that park on Old 60
Yes.
There's one.
Municipal Park.
That's
Yes.
Municipal Park, there's a skating rink there, and that was Whistler's back years ago then, but I don't know. I think
it was a dancing pavilion before it was a skating rink, that when they first built the park, that's what it was.
but,
One other thing I have to say is, a lot of people, they thought that the mining money made Lakeside Park possible. It was streetcar money. A.H. Rogers, he developed the first mule
That's right.
streetcar, mule pull streetcar from Webb City to Carterville, and then Southwest Missouri Electric Railway Company, the people that give me my streetcar, and the ones that was gonna give us a ride, but there's a lot of retired men that keep that streetcar together, okay? Southwest Missouri Electric Railway Company, A.H. Rogers,
they
it was
built the park.
streetcar money,
They built
and
that park.
that park, he brought the streetcar right to Lakeside Park. He got his money back a millionfold on fares.
he did.
That
There was a
park that-
turnaround, there was a turnaround right there
Yes,
at the
it
park,
was.
and they
Lakeside
stored
Park.
cars in the turnaround there at the car barn there.
Roy Hewlett run the car barn down there, and he had 2 boys, Chug Elroy Jr. Elroy was a daredevil. Whenever the creek was up, he was out there jumping logs with his motorboat. And during World War II, Elroy was a test pilot, and he was the youngest colonel in the United States Air Corps, 27 years old, full colonel, and he got killed. I was home on furlough. They had his funeral while I was home on furlough. And him and his brother had talked about trying to get the old park and open it back up when they got out of the service and everything. And Elroy got killed in that. He was a test pilot for the Air Force.
Never know.
Bob, you have something?
But it was really something in its heyday, I'll tell you for sure, it was.
There at the Lakeside Park Swinging Bridge, they took it out about, I'd say 1952 or 54. And the reason they took it out, one of the Coulter boys was on it, that fell through one of the boards. and broke his neck, drowned it. That's the reason they took down the cables and everything. The piers is still on Lakeside River.
I've got my picture on one of those
Yeah.
piers.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Bob?
Yeah, on the streetcar, it started in Carthage and it ran to Pitcher, Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Carthage,
Yeah.
Carthage.
How many miles of right-of-way approximately was that?
That streetcar went everywhere.
I
It
don't
went to
know how many
Prosperity, it went to
I don't know how many
Alba,
miles that was, but it
Purcell.
went from, like you say, from Pitcher to Carthage, but they never were in between.
It wasn't very wide. Right away.
What year did the interurban cease operation?
It's funny, it's about the same years, it started and ended about the same years of the birth and death of Lakeside Park.
1935.
That's right.
About 1895
Yeah.
to about 1935.
But they didn't take much right away off of the land because it was.
Right east edge of
down.
Carterville, there was
Just
a
a-
track there, there was a streetcar building there, rock building. And the track turned, went through Johnstown, went to
Prosperity.
Prosperity.
Dunaway.
Dunaway. It went to Alba, Purcell, up in that area. And
Carthage, the
it
Hercules.
went clear to Pitcher, back this other way. When it first started, the rail cars, of course, it's an electric motor on it.
Right.
And it would, we used to soap the track and dude fall on it and they'd spin them metal wheels, of course, them metal wheels didn't have any traction on that rail, you know. But anyway, they went to Prosperity and Dunaway, out that way. They went north out there, and all these little old towns had baseball teams. Baseball was, of course, football.
It's called a trolley league.
Yeah, they had the trolley league, they called it, you know. And they went to all these towns and played ball, you know. Well, when my dad came along, most all the games was played at home because they had a crowd at Lakeside, you know. And there was always a crowd there to see the ball game, you know.
You gotta remember that in the 20s and going to the early 30s, what the Major League Baseball was doing. That's where the Babe Ruths were, the Garricks, and baseball was just, unreal.
Well, and not to mention the minor leagues played a much more important role in those days because radio was still in its infancy. There was no television, so the only way some people got to see baseball was something like Lakeside Park.
Yeah.
And they said that continued to be true really until the 50s. And they said once television came in and people anywhere could see a major league ball game, the role of the minor leagues then really began to dwindle.
Really?
And a lot of the smaller leagues in that began to fade.
These streetcars, of course, they run with electricity. They had a trolley. Of course, a lot of people call them trolley cars. But, of course, the track just pretty well run straight. It didn't pull over curbs so you could get off or anything like that like the trolley buses does. It just stayed on these tracks, you know. And
They could turn around and go both ways. I mean, they could just
They had
move
that
back to the back and
turntable
go, yeah.
Lakeside.
up on the hill by the dance hall and skating rink, well, they had a turnaround there. Of course, they worked on them down there at the car barn. Roy Hewlett was streetcar man, and he worked on them down there. And but up there by the log cabin, by the dance hall, skating rink, well, they had a turnaround. And they'd pull it in there, and they'd swing it around, and so it could go back out, you see. You didn't have to move the trolley, you know.
And there by the car barn, they also had a barn, they made trolleys in Webb City in the early 30s. They
Yeah, well,
produced trolleys.
that
That's
car
over
barn
Webb
out
City.
there was just as big as one in Webb City. I mean, the old skating
it
rink in
was.
Webb City.
It was right on the river, built right on the river, and of course they dammed up the, put the dam through to make the lake, and that's where it got Lakeside. We actually lived across the streetcar tracks called Lake View, and Lakeside was down by the river. You know, that was Lakeside, and we lived across the tracks, and they called that part Lake View, and that's where I still live over there, but not when I was back in the kid. I lived over in the other part, across from the schoolhouse. When we first moved to Lakeside, I was 3 years old, and I've lived there practically all my life. It's home.
Any other questions? Let's give this table here one more hand of applause.
Thank you.
Anybody want to take some cake home, see me.
Did you put that brochure together, Larry?